Hello everybody, my name is Jeremy Caruso, creator of the Self-Contained Thinker and manager of the Self-Contained Productions channel. Not that there's anyone else on it. So, I don't really have a script or any sort of guide to help me really stick to topics or kind of organize myself. So this is going to be a very off-the-cuff video. I'm going to try and make it as clear as possible and as well-spoken as possible, but I apologize in advance for the really unprofessional nature of it. It's just the easiest way for me to really kind of comment on the entire series as a whole from Season 1, and I hope you do understand. There's a spider on me. By the way, this is not going to be edited either, so before we start, let me take a drink. Now the first thing I want to cover is the general quality of the videos, from beginning to end, and how they've progressed and why they've progressed, and certain hiccups I've had on the way and certain funny things that happened on the way. So let me get that out of the way first. Now, starting off, the videos, in my opinion, on the first disc, that being the first 5 episodes, are, in my opinion, completely garbage. They're completely garbage, terrible, just general, just amateur. That's the best word I can use to describe them. They're amateur. They're amateur, they're poorly written, poorly edited, poorly just put together. They're unwatchable. Now some people would say like, oh, this one's worse than this one, or this one, Issue with Aggression Review is worse than Until I Die Review, or the other way around, or whatever. I say that there's a threshold where stuff just becomes purely cringeworthy and unwatchable for me personally, and all those videos meet that threshold and they go far below it. They are just god-awful. I don't know what I was thinking when I was making these videos, because I watch them and I just see moments where it's supposed to be funny, or moments where it could be like a really snappy, funny joke, or moments where a good point could be driven home, or points where I just became so lazy when producing it. And I see these moments and I just slap my head and it's like, what the heck was I thinking when I was making these videos? But you know what? They were a necessary evil. That's what they are. They were a stepping stone. They were the first step forward, which was the most clumsy step ever in existence. But they were a step forward into what we have today. Certain factors played into making these videos more high quality, but I think the biggest one was just me not being so lazy with the writing. Now, a lot of people like to point to my Death Battle review or my Nintendo video as being like my worst ones. I'm pretty sure the people I'm talking to know who I'm referring to when I say those 2 videos. But me personally, I think no other video really personifies the overall problems with these first 5 videos except the Until I Die review. The Until I Die review is just the pinnacle of crap when it comes to my first 5 videos. Hands down. Hands down. And you know why? I finished that video with a half-done script. I wasn't even done with that script when I started it. I literally had to come up with stuff on the fly for an album I barely listened to, and what was the result? A shoddy, poorly put together video that no one should have watched. It shouldn't have even been made. It shouldn't have even been made. It was just terrible in every single form. Not one thing about it is irredeemable. Not one thing. Name me one thing. You can't. It's just garbage. Every joke falls flat. The editing is atrocious. The critiques make no sense. I was lazy as all balls. But you know what? It actually did come up with one good thing. The Self-Contained Edition is now a running joke. And you know what? I gotta give it props where props is due. That part I did like. But I especially hate that video. But don't get me wrong, I would not want to watch any videos on the first DVD because they're just so terrible. At the time, I was recording with an iPhone 4S. So you know immediately the image quality is going to be great. And over time, as I was using the phone through you know, just normal wear, day-to-day use, the covering on the camera got scratched up so bad it actually made it look worse and worse, as it couldn't focus properly on me, making the chroma key look even sloppier, making the lights just blare at you. There's, I forget which one it is, but there's a video where I put them too close and the lights just blare at you. It's so hard to see. I don't know why I didn't catch on this in editing and just crop it out. But hey, I guess I was too lazy to do it, right? So I was recording on that, but I was also editing on an AMD A10 quad-core $600 PC. The very first PC I'd ever bought for myself. It wasn't the first piece of editing equipment I had ever bought, but it was the very first, PC I'd ever bought for myself. That thing sucked. That thing sucked so hard. Nothing could run on it well. It overheated constantly. I live in Arizona, so you have this AMD thing with this tiny, dinky fan. It would always overheat. It was so miserable using that thing. I remember, back in the day, back in the house before this, I didn't have this desk. I didn't have this nice chair. What I would have to do is, with my bed on the ground, because we didn't have actual bed frames to put the beds in, with the bed on the ground, I would have to take a chair from the dining room. I would have to put the laptop on it. And then I'd have to put a big box fan behind it and like a stand-up fan pointing at the vent to keep it cool while I was editing and producing the videos. And after a while, that box fan broke. So you know what I had to do then? I actually had to take Tupperware containers, fill it with ice water, and just carefully set that on top of the laptop to ensure it wouldn't overheat while I was using the damn thing. It was insane. It was insane the lengths I would go to create these things. And at the time, I wasn't using Vegas Pro 13. I was using just Sony Vegas HD. It was like the base model. I didn't realize that they had actually made it so that the lower end versions render out stuff worse than the newer ones. I pirated HD Pro 13, or no, actually, excuse me, I downloaded the free trial of HD Pro 13, not Pro 13, HD Movie Studio Platinum Pro 13, or whatever it's called, and it rendered it in like half the time. Sony had intentionally kneecapped these older versions to render at a slower rate. It was insane. So, I mean, it was just problems after problems after problems, and then my computer broke, and, school propped up, and work propped up, and I got my job at Safeway. Yeah, it was not a fun time. It was not a fun time to be making these videos. It just sucked. It just sucked. It just sucked. And the videos sucked. Everything was just suck at the time. So, I got this new camera. I built my PC. And I stopped being lazy with the scripts. My very first script that I put tons of effort into, the Apple Road script, while it did have problems, and it does have some editing problems, and it isn't perfect, it is by far miles ahead of anything on the first disc. What's the episode 5? You got Issue with Aggression, Death Battle, Until I Die. So I think the last one was Nintendo. That video sucked. What was the one before that? It was another short video. I don't remember. But I'm pretty sure it sucked as well. Apple Road, miles ahead of that. It was actually funny. It was actually well written. It actually had structure to it. And the video was great. It had great production values. It looked fine for once. My older videos, they looked great. But I mean, I don't know what I was thinking in the idea that I could use a green screen to chroma key out the background, but then not even put anything back there. I just left it black. What was I thinking? I mean, I don't want to sound like James Rolfe, but really, what was I thinking? Why would I go through the trouble of, increasing my rendering times and not put anything back there? Jesus Christ. Just simple things like that could have been fixed, but I just didn't, because I didn't understand at the time. I didn't really have any reference to look on. It was really me on my own. The only person who I had to kind of compare myself to was Lewis, but even him at the time, he wasn't doing the best. I mean, a top 10 My Little Pony list, right? Those are really great videos, right? I bet you he would truly stand behind those any day of the week. Probably the top 10 worst one, to be honest, more than the best. But still, they're both pretty cringeworthy when you think about it. So the quality got like instantly upped in Disc 2. Disc 2 is like the only one worth watching, to be honest. Though, there is a reason why I keep these videos up. I like to go back and see my roots. You see how terrible the first episode is, or the second episode, or the third, or fourth, or fifth? Look at me now, and compare that to back then. I mean, it's just such a stark difference, and it's interesting for me to go back and see, you know, and remember how I put all these videos together. For me, at least. And, you know, it is part of Season 1, so you can't really just erase history. So, yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the production of these videos. Now, personally, and Lewis agrees with me on this, I personally believe that the very best episode that I've made is Sergeant Pinky's. It's the funniest, it's the most well-written, it has Lewis in it. It's so over the top. I mean, don't get me wrong, season finale is like probably number 2. It's really good, for me. I love it a lot. And especially since it segues into the movie and it has the animations and it's really well produced, I feel that it takes itself a little too seriously, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you just look at Sergeant Pinky's and it's just like, whoa, you know? It's on like a different level. It's like so just over the top and just, it's just so many random things come in. Mr. Enter, just a still image that I animated in Sony Vegas Pro 13. I mean, it just becomes just nonsensical, and it's awesome because of it. You can't not like this episode. It's just fantastic. It's funny to go back and look at. Whether it's for the rants, whether it's for the review itself, whether it's for Mr. Enter, it's just great across the board. I love it. It's my favorite, without a doubt. Second best would obviously be that one, and the rest are just kind of, scattered. Obviously, the last 5 would be like in descending order from the first disc, but there's not really much to say there. Alright, what else do I want to talk about? Oh yeah, the concept of the self-contained thinker basically came about when I first started YouTube. My mom was very concerned about my identity and my face being on the internet, even though like a year later I got a Facebook account anyways, so you know, there goes that out the window. But essentially what happened is I started out YouTube with my earlier videos, and I mean like before I put on the mask. I started out with videos like that were inspired by The Amazing Atheist and the Cult of Dusty, you know, the atheist community on YouTube. I wanted to be like a ranter and debunk videos, and I did some videos against Caden Calgar, if you know who he is. They were just, oh, God, they were terrible. Like, you think you know bad, you don't know bad until you've seen these damn videos. I mean, even when I was editing them, even when I was done with them, like nowadays, and even with my older videos back on Disc 1, even with those videos, like, I had a sense of, like, confidence when I was editing them. Seeing all the bits and pieces that I'd strive so hard to work for come together, it was really exhilarating. Because for me, when I'm writing it, I'm not very confident. When I'm shooting it, I sure as hell ain't confident. But when I'm editing it and I have like the time to really just kind of pace myself and see everything come together and push it out, I'm confident. With those videos, I wasn't confident at all, okay? I was not confident at all. They were terrible. They were god-awful. No one should watch them. That's why they don't exist. They're gone. Poof. Gone. Deleted. As soon as I put those videos up, I would almost immediately take them down because they were just terrible. They were trash to the ultimate degree. No one enjoyed them. No one liked them. This was even before I met Lewis. I had no frame of reference. I had no qualities or standards. I had no idea how Sony Vegas worked at all. It was just a mess. A pure, cluttered, unfocused piece of garbage mess. It was something else. It was just something else, I tell you. So, I decided, okay, I'm gonna hide my face. Once I met Lewis, and I met, like, friends, and I went to high school, you know, and I started getting involved, I was like, okay, if I really want to promote this YouTube channel, which I never really did, because who the hell wants to watch my stuff anyways? But I decided, okay, I need to mask my identity. And I was like, okay, how can I do that? Well, I got gloves, okay, I got a sweater, you know, for the winter months. I started the channel in like April, so I had the sweater, but I was like, how can I do it? And then I realized, I'm just gonna grab this over here, I can put on a ninja mask. I didn't even try to portray myself as a ninja. I just wanted to disguise my identity in a similar vein to Logic or the Armored Skeptic, you know? Just putting on a mask to kind of shield myself from any harassment or threats or anything that I would receive, you know? I was very self-conscious about the videos, and I wanted to be able to just kind of shift all of that negative energy and, not guilt, but just nervousness I had, and just be like, oh, they're criticizing the character, not me. And even though nowadays I still try and push the idea that the Self-Contained Thinker is its own character and not Jeremy Caruso, let's be real here, it is. It's kind of like Doug Walker and the Nostalgia Critic in the fact that they're really not really the same person character, but they are. But with him, it's more justifiable because he has multiple people helping him write and produce the show, while with me, it's a one-man crew. So really, the Self-Contained Thinker is Jeremy Caruso. Now, the fact where the whole character aspect comes in is with the canon that we've made over the past couple years. Mainly with Dramatic Doofuses and the Wiki. And the Wiki, pretty much all of the stuff with the Self-Contained Thinker has come from. The idea of Cleveland, the idea of Tyler being God, God versus Payson, you know, the entire thing the movie is based off of, the Tyleristic religion, all of that itself is based off of stuff drawn from the Dramatic Doofuses. And that's really where the character aspect comes from. Jeremy Caruso is not involved in any of that, although he is a ginger, so I guess canonically, you know, he would be, you know, a denizen of Cleveland. But in Self-Contained Thinker's universe, Jeremy Caruso is the Self-Contained Thinker, just, you know, in a form that I can't explain because it'll spoil the movie. But, you know, it makes more sense that way. Back then, he wasn't really a character, but just someone for me to really shift my nervousness onto. But nowadays, he really is more so of his own character. Especially now that I have more characters like the Raging, Angry, Pissed Off, Irate, Mad, Furious, Agitated Gamer Dude Guy who also reviews movies he's talking about. Oh, try saying that 3 times fast. Especially as I have him, it's a little more easier to see, like, okay, this is this character, and this is that character, and I'm me, and I run the channel. Especially since back then, my channel was called The Self-Contained Thinker. In fact, one of my earliest rants was I did a SOPA rant, that's true, but my earliest rants was a Google Plus rant that is actually still on Lewis's channel, which I told him not to bother taking down. But, yeah, so if you want to see an example of what my earlier rants looked like, look at that channel. Especially since I used, like, this old microphone. Like, you see this? I didn't have this all the time. This, I didn't have money to purchase stuff like this. This right here was like a fortune. Like 60 bucks? Where am I going to pull that from? I used like this $20 USB mic, and it was just the worst thing ever. It was the worst thing ever. My god, that fucking mic, never, ever again. As soon as I got this mic, that thing went in the trash. It was the worst fucking mic ever. Here's an example, okay? I recorded stuff with it, and I would have to go into Audacity and apply 4 different instances of noise removal to get all of the ringing, the crackling, just the noise in it, out of it. It was horrible. I couldn't record shit while the laptop was plugged in. It would pick up the power noise. I couldn't record shit with the light on. It would pick up the power noise of the light. It was fucking ridiculous. It was horrible. Sorry if I'm saying that word a lot, but it really was. Back then, it was really shit. It was terrible trying to make videos. Oh man, and in order to have custom thumbnails, back then you had to be a YouTube partner, which is why I'm a partner right now, even though I don't make any money. You had to be a YouTube partner, you had to be on YouTube's partnership for 30 days, so I had to wait 30 goddamn days, and I cranked out those thumbnails though, immediately. And nowadays, all you need is a valid, like, phone number and validation to get shit, man. It sucked back then. Like, let's be real, it sucked back then. Making videos is so much easier than it ever could be. Especially now with phones. Phones record, like, HD footage now. Like, I could justifiably get away with using this as my camera. The 4S, the camera sucked on there, to be honest, by default. And the fact that it got all scratched up sucked. But this, you can do videos with this. I've seen people who do videos with this. Now, would it be as high quality? No. But cameras nowadays cost a lot less, too. Like, for example, this camera, it's about $300. I assume that you could probably get a similar camera for at least $250. Go on eBay, just grab a $250 camera, especially if you don't need to do chroma keying. I mean, that's the deal. The reason I got a camera that's this expensive, that being $300, is because it really did need to analyze all those pixels in the back to make sure the chroma key really went through. And it shows in some videos that the chroma key really did work, especially in like my Nintendo rant where I'm transparent because I took the low tolerance and I put it up too high. Or in some videos where you can slightly see a green outline. Granted, it's not Angry Joe bad, but it's still there. And you really need top-of-the-line equipment, and you need, studio-grade lights and stuff to really shine on you in order to do that. Speaking of lights, I actually had to replace 3 light bulbs during the making of this season because of my own incompetence, because they just break. So yeah. What else should I talk about? Oh, Mr. Enter. Now, Mr. Enter was never, ever, ever going to be involved with my YouTube channel. At all. He was never going to be a concept. I never thought of it. I think I might have mentioned to everyone, like I thought, if I'm doing the Beetle Bronies, Mr. Enter is a huge Brony fan. Or he's a Brony. He's a My Little Pony fan. What if I find a way to somehow incorporate him into the video? But of course, it wasn't a review of the series, and at the time I really had no plans to review the series. So I was like, okay, we won't do it. We'll just crank out the review. It'll be funny. It'll be great. It's a collab with Casey with Lewis anyways, and Casey. It's a collab with 2 of them. It'll have more than enough content to really satisfy everyone. That's what I thought. But then Casey approaches me over Skype one night. Speaking of which, it's like 12 o'clock. Casey approaches me over Skype one night, and it's like, here. And he gives me this like crappy green screened Mr. Enter JPEG of him in like a vlog or something, some dumb video of his. And he had he photoshopped in like a fedora and a My Little Pony shirt and like demon eyes, and he said, put this in your video. And I said, okay. So I wrote him into the video. This was like a day before we shot, by the way. So I like quickly just kind of like bullshitted him into the script. And we shot the video. That was the first time I actually used any props in my video. Aside from the shovel, which I wouldn't count. I mean stuff I actually had to buy. I went and I got Kool-Aid, and I spat out Kool-Aid onto a towel, which then got onto the floor, so that didn't really help, and I had to clean the floor, but that's besides the point. And I wrote him in, and then the whole idea of Bleach, came in, and that whole thing came onto way, and Mr. Enter became like a staple villain of the self-contained thinker. I mean, it really is amazing how many concepts are just born from just split-second decisions and just, like, ideas that sound, like, goofy and over-the-top and crappy on paper, but in the end turn out to be just funny as hell. Like, for example, how did the shovel become a concept? How did the shovel even become a thing? How did it become a weapon of mine? Was it because I wanted a unique weapon for the self-contained thinker? Hell no! I just thought, it would be funny if I had a scene where I just beat the ponies to death and I buried them. Well, why don't I just do it with the shovel? And that just became a thing. It just became a thing. I mean, that's just how it happened. In that one episode, in those full 30 seconds where I'm shown with the shovel, that's all it took. That's what makes this season the best, I think. And that's what I think is going to make further seasons, no matter how well written or how well acted or how well the special effects are. That's what's really making me a bit hesitant to say that any season beyond this is really going to be able to top this. Because, I mean, is it really going to be that over the top? Is the quality shift between Disc 1 and Disc 2 really going to be that large? For me, no, because, I mean, a workstation plus a camera instantly makes everything just so standardized, it's really going to be hard to detect differences in quality, even if I do get a new camera. It won't be that big. It won't be as big of a shift as shitty fucking laptop with iPhone with a stand to this. Because this really is night and day. So, really, Season 1 for me is like one part necessary evil in terms of like Disc 1, which is just whatever. And other part just nonsensical fun with a lot of great episodes and a lot of great moments and a lot of just great stuff, period, onto the second disc. And you know what? After the movie, we're going to be making some more. Whew, is that everything? I think that's everything. Self-Contained Thinker was born purely from a desire to shield my identity from the internet and a desire for me to become like The Amazing Atheist. In fact, that's where the idea of the Self-Contained Thinker name came from. You know, I wanted just a 3-worded name like The Amazing Atheist. I wanted to be pretty fluent. And when I first came out with that name, people were judging me. But you know what? I think it's become pretty iconic with the character. Like, really, could you imagine the Self-Contained Thinker being anything else? I can't. Or using anything but a shovel? I can't. It's just become kind of iconic. And you know what? I'm perfectly okay with that. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching this video, and thank you for watching all the episodes if you have, and checking out this box set. I mean, sure, it's free, and you know, I probably forced you to watch it against your will, but you know what? It was fun working with all of you. I know the end of the year, end of senior year is coming up for me, and I'm probably not going to see you guys as much anymore when life truly does start, and we all go our separate ways, and you know, the movie happens and all that stuff. But you know, it really was fun working with everyone, with Pace and Tyler, Casey, Lewis, obviously. It was fun doing all of this, and really, this is the best hobby I ever had. You know, some people, you know, they play sports, or some people are into movies, or some people are into video games, some people are into music. But me, I've always had a real knack for making my own media. You know, I mean, here, let me give you an example. I still have these, and I won't throw them away, even though they are god-awful. See, back in the day, when I didn't have internet, this is what I would do, okay? This is what I would do. Do you see these? These are homemade comics I made back in 2010. That's right. These are 5 years old now. Jesus Christ. So I had a character called Dot. Yeah, Dot, right? Dot. You know why? Because I had an old computer, and the easiest shape to make was a circle and fill it in with black, and I call that Dot. And then eventually I got, you know, some comics, some empty comics, and I actually made stories with this dude. You have Dot, which is the original one. At the time, I was very in love with the Alien franchise. I still am. So there's Dot versus Aliens. This is actually like a remastered one I made in 2012. Pretty recently, considering the concept of these. Oh, Dot and Femur. This is actually unfinished. But yeah, Dot and Femur. Femur is like my Samus ripoff character that I used back then. Oh, and this is great. My production studio back then was called like Home Comics Incorporated. Yeah, wonder where I got that idea from. Jesus Christ. Oh, Dot versus Aliens, right? Just look at that. You know that's good. It's 4.5. Oh wait, no. Yeah, it's 4.5 stars. It's got warnings for blood, gore, and violence. Yeah, and it's issue 1 and volume 1. And I made this January 26th, 2009, or at least I started making this. I doubt I finished it the same day. What's a common factor in these is that I would like lose pens and pencils. So like let's say I started out this one, Dot vs. Alien 2. I actually had 3, but I lost the third one, I guess. So this one is actually like way worse, I think, because look, it's freaking Samus. It's Samus with a different face. It's Samus. Whatever, you know, whatever. This one's actually 5 stars apparently, but as you can see, you got blue ink, right? And it actually has some water damage, whatever. And halfway through, I changed to black pen, and then even further in, I changed to pencil. So yeah, there's not a lot of consistency in the story, and the art is just garbage on these. Oh, and I still am a very big fan of the Terminator. So here's Dot versus D30. Yeah, D30, completely original. I accidentally drew Dot way up here, and since he's in pen, I didn't know what to do. So I just drew a bunch of corpses of what I called D10s. You know, the D30 was supposed to be kind of like the T600s and the T800s, you know? Completely separate, completely different. Nothing different about them at all. Yeah, there's some really weird stuff in these comics. I'm not going to show you these, and I will never show a single soul. But yeah, these comics are weird. And my very first comic I made with Dot was actually a comic called Dot versus the Toys. It's not this one I'm about to show you, but it was just, my god, it was terrible. I actually made this one in full color too, and it's a remastering, I would call it. See, it's Dots versus the Toys, and I actually had to hand make this and hand staple it too, because we couldn't find the resource to get the actual things. But this one is actually drawn a lot better than the rest. There's actually a cohesive story in this. Basically, some kid throws away like a crappy toy, and some nuclear waste gets dumped on it, and they turn into like these robots, and then Dot comes and saves them. Yeah, it's great, man. Oh, what's even better in these, I think, is, let me see if I can find it. Oh man, this is great. That one doesn't have it. One of these does have it. Okay, this one doesn't have it here. I think it's this one. Dot versus aliens. Here we go. Okay, what I would do is I would like put in pen, of course. I would post like the next ideas for like my comics. What I was gonna do in my comics. So a lot of these actually did come out. Like Dot versus Aliens 2 and 3. Those ones came out. Dot the original, which is spelled completely wrong, which is not that one down there. Dot, which is like that first one I showed you. Dot versus D30, which came out. Dot versus Dot, which never came out. And Dot versus Alien versus Predator, spelled wrong. That never came out. So yeah, this is what I would do in my free time. I had nothing to do. There was no internet. We had a VHS player. Life was miserable back then, man. Man, life sucked back then. But you know, that's what you had to do. So I always took more pleasure out of creating my own stuff and really seeing it, like being able to hold it and see it and be like, yeah, I made this. I made this, you know? Even if it was crap and I, you know, just toss them away in a closet forever, it was still liberating to really have that, you know? I didn't need to listen to music to really feel anything. I just needed to sit down and push something out. And I think that really carried on into this video making hobby. So, yeah, that's it. That's all I'm going to say now. Thank you all for watching. I've been Jeremy Caruso. No, I don't plan on retiring the Self-Contained Thinker character or the Productions channel at all, despite the fact that it's almost the end of senior year and, you know, whatever. But, yeah, I have been Jeremy Caruso, a.k.a. the Self-Contained Thinker, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Oh, side note, that came from the idea that I wanted to have like a quick little outro phrase, and it actually worked. It actually worked. That's one of the few things that actually freaking worked. Have a wonderful day. It's not LA Beast's have a good day, and it's not anyone else's have a wonderful day. No, it's I hope you all have a wonderful day. That's it, and it worked. Okay, I'll shut up for real this time. Bye-bye.